What really happens when you trade your own marriage for your husband's promotion? And he finally asks why it came so fast. How far can a quiet man go using only emails, timelines, and legal forms when his wife insists she just helped his career by getting close to his boss? Can you still call him ungrateful and insecure when the promotion, the affair, and the divorce papers all show up in the same file? Before we dive deeper into the story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. Isolde. That is my name, and I honestly believed I was the one holding our whole life together. People act shocked now, like I did something evil on purpose. I say I simply used what I had in front of me. My husband Oliver was stuck in the same position for years. Good, steady, invisible. He kept saying his boss never saw him. I heard it so many times that I started to feel insulted myself. So, when I met Marcus in the lobby at my job, and he smiled a different kind of smile, I did what any smart wife would do. I connected dots, I listened, I laughed, I made him see Oliver's name on the list. I told myself this was how the world actually worked. I did not call it an affair, I called it networking. I called it a sacrifice. For us. When Oliver finally got his promotion, he asked why it happened so fast. He asked what I had said, what I had done. I told him he should just say thank you and stop digging. He said something felt wrong. I said that was just his low self-esteem talking. I still thought I was the hero then. I was the only one in that apartment who believed Oliver could be more than what he was. The first real moment, the one I go back to, started in our small kitchen. Oliver sat at the table with his lunchbox open, still in his dull polo with the company logo, scrolling through some work email on his phone. Our son, Noah, sat beside him, drawing a football pitch with crooked lines. I was standing by the counter, already in my nicer blouse, ready to go to my own job. Oliver sighed. He said his coworker had been promoted again. I asked if Marcus had even considered him this time. He said Marcus told him they would revisit things next quarter. I rolled my eyes. I told him next quarter was boss language for never. He gave a weak smile, said I was probably right. I thought, not for the first time, that he would die in that chair if I did nothing. My job was not fancy, but it had better air. I worked as a receptionist and helped plan little events for a logistics company that sometimes worked with Oliver's. My lobby had glass and plants. His warehouse had dust and noise. When his company's managers came over for meetings, they walked past my desk, suits and confident steps. I saw Marcus first like that, tall, polished, laughing loudly with his colleagues. The first time he stopped at my desk, he asked if I was related to an Oliver Marin over at Central Warehouse. I said he was my husband. Marcus smiled, said Oliver was a solid worker and that he had heard good things. I told him he should say those words to Oliver's face once in a while. He chuckled and said he would try. It was a small exchange, but I felt the power of it. I was in a place Oliver could not see. At home that night, I told Oliver that Marcus had called him a solid worker. His eyes lit a little. He asked where I had seen Marcus. I said our firms were connected, and he had come through for a meeting. I added that I had mentioned how hard Oliver worked. He said I did not have to do that. I said I did, actually, because he would never promote himself. He went quiet, like he half agreed and half hated that it was true. The next time Marcus visited, he stayed longer at my desk. He asked how Oliver was managing the new shift pattern. I told him Oliver took on extra work for people who did not deserve it. Marcus smiled and said, Oliver seemed loyal. I said loyalty without reward turned into waste. He laughed at that line and said I had a sharp mouth. I liked the way he said it. After that, I started seeing opportunities everywhere. If I heard about a joint event, I made sure I was on the welcome list. If I knew Marcus would be in the lobby, I arranged the coffee tray myself. I told myself I was just doing my job well. but I also made sure Marcus knew exactly how underused Oliver was. At the same time, our home started to change in small, quiet ways. One evening, I came back from work and opened the cabinet where we kept random letters and menus. Instead of the usual paper chaos, there was a thin binder standing straight. On the spine, in Oliver's neat print, it said, "Household." I took it out and flipped through it. Bills in order, bank letters in plastic sleeves, even a list of due dates. Oliver came in behind me and asked if I had seen his new system. I asked when he had become an old man with a binder. He said he was tired of missing payments because we lost things. I said we had missed one payment and the world had not ended. He replied that one was enough for him. I called him dramatic and slid the binder back. Another night, after Noah was asleep, I walked into the living area and saw Oliver on the sofa with his laptop. The screen showed a spreadsheet. At first, I thought it was work. Then I saw a column of dates that looked like normal days, not work shifts. Another column had small notes. Before I could read them, he pressed a key and the window shrank to a tiny box in the corner. He asked if I needed something. I asked why he closed it so fast if it was so boring. He said he was finished anyway. I joked that he should spend less time with numbers and more with me. He smiled a little, but his eyes were tired. There were other small details. One morning, while I wiped crumbs from the counter, Oliver's phone buzzed on the table. I glanced at the screen. A calendar reminder popped up. Storage, 8:25 a.m. I snorted. I asked if he had started a romance with the storage room. He picked up the phone quickly and said it was just a reminder to sort some boxes at work. I said only he could make storage sound important. He smiled in that closed way of his and put the phone in his pocket. With every one of these moments, I felt two stories forming. In one, he was getting more serious, more organized, more distant. In the other, I was getting bolder. At the office, Marcus began asking for my opinion on small things: seating charts, snack choices for meetings, how to phrase certain emails. He said I had a good sense of people. I told him I had to, because my husband did not know how to talk himself up. Marcus laughed and said that was true for many men. I told him it was sad, because they stayed stuck while less capable people stepped over them. He leaned on my desk, elbows out, and said it was lucky for Oliver that his wife knew how to speak. When I told Oliver about these talks, I carefully chose what to mention. I said Marcus respected his work and that I was nudging him now and then. I did not say how often Marcus now slowed down at my desk when no one else was there. I did not repeat the compliments about my sharpness, only the ones about Oliver's potential. I wanted Oliver to feel grateful, not threatened. He did not always react how I expected. One night in the kitchen, while I packed Noah's lunch, he said he was happy I was talking to Marcus, but it also felt strange. I asked what was strange. He said it felt like his boss knew more about his home than his work. I told him that was only because Oliver never spoke up. I said he should be glad someone was in his corner. He said he wanted to earn things himself. I replied that the world did not reward quiet effort, it rewarded connections. I told him if he wanted pure merit, he could live on a mountain. He did not like that. He said it sounded like I thought he was useless. I said I thought he was underused, which was different. In my head, it was. Noah felt the air too, even if he could not name it. One evening, as we sat at the table and I scrolled a message from Marcus, Noah asked if Daddy was sad again. I asked why he thought that. He said Daddy's mouth went flat when I said Marcus's name. Oliver said he was just tired from work. I said he should be excited, since things were finally moving for him. He gave me a look like he did not know whether to thank me or question me. He chose to say nothing. That was always his mistake, I thought then. Saying nothing, leaving space I could fill. The next week, everything started to move faster, and I told myself it was because of me. At breakfast, Oliver scrolled through his phone with that tiny frown line between his eyebrows. Noah chatted about a school project, something with cardboard and glue. I poured coffee and watched Oliver. I asked if Marcus had said anything more about revisiting things next quarter. He said Marcus had thanked him for staying late on a weekend. I snorted. I said a thank you without a raise was just free labor. He replied that appreciation still mattered. I told him appreciation without money was just air. On my way out, I checked my own phone. Marcus had sent a message late the night before. A short line about how the joint project would have fallen apart without my push. I smiled at it again and did not mention it to Oliver. Why should I? It was my work, my influence. At the office, the lobby buzzed like always. When Marcus came in with 2 other managers, he broke away and walked to my desk. He asked how our Oliver was handling the new workload. I liked that. Our Oliver. I told him Oliver was used to being stretched and that he would do anything to prove himself. Marcus said that was good to know. He rested his hand lightly on the counter while we spoke. I noticed how the junior staff glanced over. Later, in the small break room, my co-worker Hannah stirred her tea and asked if I knew Marcus well now. I said I knew him well enough to get things done. She said he seemed very comfortable with me for a visiting manager. I said that was because I was useful, and some men respected that. She looked at me for a long second and then changed the subject. I did not like that look. It felt like judgment. By lunch, a rumor had already started. People said Oliver's company might be reorganizing teams. I heard 2 project coordinators whisper that Marcus was pushing his guy for a lead role. I knew they meant Oliver. I walked past them with my chin a little higher. When I texted Oliver, I told him I had heard there might be new positions. He wrote back asking where I heard it. I said I had ears and he should learn to trust me. He replied with a simple, okay, and nothing else. It annoyed me. That evening, at home, he came in later than usual. Noah ran to the door and asked if Daddy had big news. Oliver smiled and said there was talk, nothing sure yet. I told him there was more than talk, but if he wanted to stay small, that was his choice. He said he just did not want to count on something that was not signed. I said that attitude was exactly why he needed me. While we talked, I noticed a new binder on the sideboard near the TV. It was labeled bank. I picked it up and flipped through it. Printed statements, simple tables, little notes in the margin. I asked when he became a bookkeeper. He said he was going through our accounts so we could see clearly where we stood. I laughed and said we stood where we always did. I made the useful connections and he worried. He did not rise to it. Noah asked what all the papers were. Oliver told him they were just boring grown-up things. I said they were Daddy's new hobby. Noah giggled and went back to his game. I saw Oliver write a small date on a sticky note and press it to the inside cover of the binder. That small, careful motion made my skin itch. One night, after I had showered and put on my lotion, I went to our bedroom and saw Oliver sitting on the bed with his laptop. Another spreadsheet glowed on the screen, this one more filled. Columns of dates, short phrases. I stepped closer. I saw lines like late return, Marcus call, event at partner lobby. He closed the laptop before I could read more. I asked if he was tracking work stuff or me. He said he was tracking our life. I told him that sounded like something a stalker would say. He said, people who are always told their memory is wrong sometimes need help keeping it straight. That line made me more angry than anything. The next morning, while he was in the shower, his phone buzzed on the dresser. A muted call flashed on screen. Private. I watched it vibrate, then stop. A notification followed, one new voicemail. I did not open it, but the word private sat in my head. When he came out, I mentioned he had a missed call. He glanced at the phone, pressed a button, and put it in his pocket without checking who it was. I asked if he was not even curious. He said he would listen later. I said he was getting secretive. He said I had been saying that word a lot about other people. At work, my friend Carla from the gym came by to meet me for lunch. She leaned on my reception desk and asked if Oliver had finally gotten over his whining about Marcus. I told her he was still tense and acting like everything was suspect. She rolled her eyes and said some men could not handle powerful women. She asked if Marcus was as charming as he looked in his email signature. I laughed and told her he knew how to make people feel seen. She said I was doing what needed to be done and that Oliver should be kissing my feet. We went to a cafe near the building. While we ate, I told her about the binder and the spreadsheets. I said Oliver had started writing things down like a detective. Carla said he sounded creepy. She said if he kept treating me like a suspect, I should start acting like one. I liked that line more than I should have. At the same time, something in my chest pinched when she used the word creepy. I repeated that he was just bad at handling his own success. When I came back from lunch, Marcus was in the lobby again. He asked if I had a moment to talk. We stepped to a quiet corner near the big plant by the windows. He said the regional director had liked Oliver's numbers lately. He hinted that there might be a new position soon and that my insight about Oliver had been helpful. I told him I only spoke the truth. He smiled and said his wife always said truth was a dangerous spice. That mention of a wife brushed past me like air. I pretended not to feel it. He suggested we meet off-site later that week at a small co-working cafe to go over some cross-company ideas they had. He said it would help him shape the role around Oliver's strengths if he understood our side more. I told him that sounded smart. I did not tell Oliver about that invite. I told myself it was just work. When I did tell Oliver about the possible role, back in our kitchen that night, I made sure to phrase it a certain way. I said Marcus had told me they were impressed, and that I had pushed the idea. Oliver asked again exactly what I had said. I told him I had simply explained he was loyal and flexible. He asked if I had talked about his weaknesses too. I said a good advocate only showed the best side. He asked if I was his advocate or Marcus's. I said he should be thanking me, not questioning me. Noah sat at the table drawing and looked up when our voices rose. Oliver lowered his. He said quietly that something about the situation felt wrong. I told him his feelings were not facts. Later that week, I met Marcus at the co-working cafe like he had suggested. The place had wooden tables, soft lamps, people with laptops everywhere. He bought us coffees. We sat close, sharing a screen with some project chart. He asked about Oliver's home life, how he handled stress, if he would be able to travel more. I answered. I told him Oliver sometimes froze in big group discussions and that he needed a push. Marcus said it was good that someone knew how to push him. His knee brushed mine under the table. I let it. On my way home, going down the stairwell of our building, my phone buzzed. Carla had sent a photo. Someone from our office had snapped a picture from the balcony above the lobby. Marcus, standing very close to me earlier that day, my head tilted back, laughing, his hand on the counter near mine. The caption in the group chat was a string of fire emojis and the words power couple. I felt a rush of heat. I told myself it was admiration, not gossip. That evening, Oliver came home earlier than usual. He said his manager wanted to talk the next day about future paths. I grinned and said that meant I had done my job well. He asked if I had been talking more with Marcus. I said I had, because somebody had to believe in him. He said he did not remember asking me to get involved. I said he did when he complained every night. He went quiet again and took his laptop to the table. From the hallway, I could see the screen. This time, the spreadsheet looked even more full. There were dates, times, and little notes. One entry I could read clearly said, photo, lobby, is and M, close. My stomach tightened. I marched in and asked if he was collecting material to make me look bad. He said he was collecting what actually happened. I said he was making a story of nothing. He said the story was already being made, with or without him. My phone buzzed again. The same photo from the balcony pinged in another group chat, this one including someone from Oliver's team. A tiny preview showed at the top. me, laughing with Marcus, and a message under it asking if Oliver knew how close the partnership was. I cursed under my breath and turned the screen away. When Oliver came home after that quick word with his manager, he looked like someone had taken all the air out of him and then stuffed him full again. He stood in the doorway with his work bag still on one shoulder. Noah ran up, asking if Daddy got in trouble. Oliver shook his head and said he had been offered something big. His voice sounded flat, like he was trying it on. I asked if it was the new role. He nodded and said Marcus wanted him to step up to a higher position, with more pay and more hours. I clapped my hands and said this was what we had been waiting for. He said he did not know if he was ready. I told him nobody was ever ready, they just had people willing to fight for them. I looked at him until he understood what I was saying. At dinner, Noah asked if we were rich now. Oliver said no, just a bit more comfortable. I said we were finally being valued and that Daddy should be proud. Oliver kept staring at his plate. He said he had not done anything different to earn such a jump. I said maybe someone had convinced Marcus to open his eyes. He asked very quietly if I meant myself. I smiled and said I had only mentioned how much he deserved it. He did not smile back. 2 days later, there was a company-wide invite for a celebration. A rooftop bar, dress code, smart casual. Oliver showed me the email and said he was not sure he wanted to go. I told him he had to. I said this was his chance to be seen. I added that if he did not show up, he would look ungrateful. He muttered that he already felt like a clown. I said that if he refused to go, people would assume he had something to hide. He sighed and agreed. That evening, I chose a dress that was not too obvious but also not modest. I told myself it was for me, but I watched Oliver's face when I came out. He said I looked nice, in a small voice. I told him he should be proud to stand next to me. He said he was, but he wished it did not feel like a show. I told him success was always a show. On the way out, while I grabbed my bag, I saw his phone light up on the counter. A calendar alert flashed. Meeting, personal 5:55 p.m. I frowned and asked if he had another secret meeting. He picked up the phone and tapped the alert away. He said it was just a reminder, nothing to do with that night. I asked why it said personal. He said some things were personal and left it there. That answer sat badly with me. I decided it was rude. In my mind, anything that was his business should also be mine. The rooftop bar was crowded and loud. City lights spread out around us. People from Oliver's company and mine mixed together in little clusters. Music played just loud enough to make everyone lean closer to talk. Marcus stood near a high table with a drink in his hand, telling some story. When he saw us arrive, he opened his arms and called Oliver over. He asked how it felt to be rising so fast. I answered before Oliver could. I said it felt about time. People laughed. Oliver gave me a look, half warning, half plea. Marcus made a small speech later, standing on a low platform near the rail. He talked about growth and teamwork. He said some people had been hidden gems until recently. He put a hand on Oliver's shoulder and said he was an example of someone who had finally stepped up. A few people clapped. Marcus added with a grin that it helped when a man had a wife who knows how to talk. He glanced at me. A cheer went up. Someone whistled. I smiled and lifted my glass, like I was on a stage. Oliver bowed his head. After the speech, Carla appeared from somewhere, already a bit tipsy. She wrapped an arm around my shoulders and said I had pulled off a miracle. She told a small group that I was the real engine behind Oliver's move. I did not correct her. I said lightly that I had simply used my position. One of Oliver's co-workers, Tom, laughed and said it looked like I had used more than my position. The others laughed for real at that. Oliver told him to watch his words. Tom raised his hands like he was innocent. I joked that men always thought women got what they wanted the easy way. It was meant to sting and entertain at the same time. At some point, I stood by the rail with Marcus. He asked if Oliver was happy. I said he was struggling to accept that he deserved it. Marcus said he saw that at work. He said Oliver did good work, but doubted himself. I told him that was why someone had to push. Marcus smiled and said he guessed he should thank me for pushing on both sides. His hand brushed the small of my back for a little too long. I saw a flash of light out of the corner of my eye and realized someone was taking a photo. Oliver came over and asked if we could talk alone for a minute. His jaw was tight, but his voice stayed low. I said we could talk right there. He said he did not want to make a scene. I raised my eyebrows and asked if he was embarrassed by me. He said he was embarrassed by the jokes about how he got the promotion. I told him if he had pushed himself sooner, nobody would think that. He said he did not like people hinting that his wife and his boss were too close. I laughed and said people always invented stories for strong women. He asked, very quietly, if anything had happened that he should know about. I said he was being paranoid and ungrateful. I reminded him that I was the one who had talked, charmed, and stayed late so his name could be in the right rooms. I said he was biting the hand that fed him. A small group nearby turned their heads. Someone's phone was already out, pointed in our direction, like it had never been lowered after the speech. Carla jumped in then, raising her glass. She shouted that we should toast to wives who do what men will not. People laughed and crowded closer. She told everyone I had hustled Oliver into his promotion. Tom, the co-worker, added that some people clearly knew how to work both sides of the office. There was a wave of laughter. I saw Oliver's face go red. He said softly that this was not funny. I said he was the only one not laughing. I told the group that some men could not handle success if they did not feel in control. Someone near the bar started chanting for a toast. Glasses lifted. A few people held up phones. I raised my drink again and said loudly that I had simply done what any real partner would do, use what she had to make sure her family did not stay stuck. I said if that made people uncomfortable, maybe they were jealous. Marcus smiled stiffly, eyes flicking to Oliver. He looked like he wanted to fade into the background. The mood shifted in a small, sharp way. Imani, standing near the back, looked from me to Oliver and then put her phone away. Hannah, who had come along, shook her head quietly and stepped farther from the group. I saw it but told myself they were being boring. After a while, the crowd thinned. The party stayed loud, but the edge had dulled. Oliver said he wanted to leave. I said he was running away from his own celebration. He said he did not feel like celebrating if he was the punchline. I told him he was being dramatic. Carla whispered that I should not go if I did not want to. He could sulk alone. That idea felt mean and right at the same time. In the end, I went with him, mostly because I did not want him to say I had abandoned him. In the warehouse parking garage below the building, the air was cool and echoing. Our steps sounded too loud. Oliver walked a few paces ahead, then stopped by the car. He said he could not believe I had turned his promotion into a joke about my body. I said if he was ashamed, that was his own guilt. He asked if I really did not see the problem. I said the problem was him making me feel dirty for helping. He opened the passenger door and then paused. On the passenger seat, there was a clipboard I had not seen before. The top page had a single word at the top left, statement. I picked it up and asked if he was giving a speech now. He took it gently from my hand and said it was nothing for me, just some notes he needed to sort. He put the clipboard back in the car, face down. When we got home, Noah was already asleep at Elaine's, where we had left him. The apartment was quiet. Oliver went straight to the dining table and opened his laptop. I walked to the bedroom and changed, then came back out and leaned in the doorway. He was typing, eyes locked on the screen. The printer on the side table clicked on. It whirred and spat out a single blank page. The smell of toner filled the room. I joked that even the printer was tired of his paperwork. He said he was just checking it worked. His tone was flat. I went to the bedroom, picked up my phone, and opened social media. Notifications stacked up, new tags, new messages. Someone had posted a short clip from the rooftop. Me, glass raised, joking about earning promotions the fun way, with Oliver in the background, face tight. The comments were already coming in. Some laughed, some asked if I was serious. The fallout did not hit first at work. It hit at the table where we were supposed to be a family. Elaine called and said we should all meet for Sunday lunch to celebrate Oliver's promotion. She said she wanted Noah to see that good work got noticed. I heard the careful tone under her words. She also wanted to see if the rooftop stories were true. I agreed because I believed I could turn the whole thing into proof that I was the engine and Oliver was ungrateful. We went to her house first. The TV was off, the table already set with plates and glasses. Noah ran in and asked if there would be cake. Elaine laughed and said, of course. Theo was on the sofa, scrolling his phone. He lifted it when we walked in and said he had seen the famous toast video. He asked if we were influencers now. I laughed and said someone had to keep things interesting. While Elaine finished in the kitchen, I went to get water. On the wall next to the fridge was a small calendar. One date 2 weeks from then was circled in red. Next to it, in neat print, were the words, "Bring forms." I frowned and asked if she had a doctor appointment. She said it was just some boring paperwork she was helping Oliver organize. I said they were both married to paper now. She did not laugh. At the restaurant, we sat at a long table near the window. It was crowded and loud. Children's voices, cutlery clinking. Noah squeezed between Theo and me. Oliver sat across from us, next to Elaine. People asked about the promotion, mostly in normal ways at first. How did it feel? What would he be doing? Would he travel? I let him answer a few questions, then I started adding my version. I told them he had been stuck forever, until someone finally listened to me. I said I had spent months talking him up to the right people. I said I had been in the lobby while he was in the dust. I framed it like a love story where I was the brave one. Theo raised his glass and said he guessed it helped to have a wife, in good with the boss. He winked. Some cousins laughed. Oliver put his fork down. He said he wanted people to know he worked for it too. I said nobody doubted that, but hard work without the right push went nowhere. I added that some people in this family did not understand how modern offices worked. I looked at Elaine when I said that. Elaine asked calmly if I had spent a lot of time with Marcus lately. I said I spent as much time as needed to make sure my husband did not stay invisible. She asked if that meant late nights and one-on-one meetings. I said she was making it sound dirty when it was just strategy. I told her if she had had my chances when she was younger, she might not have had to struggle so much. Her mouth tightened. Theo cut in, trying to make it a joke again. He said it looked like I had charmed the right person. He asked Oliver if he was going to thank me in his acceptance speech. I laughed and said he already did, in his own shy way. Oliver sat very still. He said in a low voice that he did not want his promotion turned into a story about his wife's body. I snapped that he should be careful, because he was starting to sound like he thought I had nothing else to offer. One of the younger cousins pulled out her phone and asked if she could show the rooftop clip. Before I could answer, she had it playing on the table. There I was, glass raised, joking about earning promotions the fun way. Marcus behind me, Oliver in the frame with a tight jaw. People laughed nervously. Elaine stared at the screen, then at me. She asked if I understood how that looked outside my own head. I said, people love to twist things. I told them it was just humor, just honesty. I said I refused to pretend that the world was pure when everyone else played the same game in secret. I called myself brave for saying it out loud. Oliver said it felt like a slap, not bravery. I rolled my eyes and said he wanted success without feeling anything. Noah watched our faces, chewing slowly. After lunch, Elaine suggested we walk to the park so the kids could run around. The park was busy, full of families, scooters, dogs. Theo kicked a ball with Noah on the grass. I sat on a bench with Elaine. She tried again, softer. She said she knew I wanted more, but warned that mixing marriage and office talk like this was dangerous. I said dangerous was staying poor and passed over. I said if Oliver had his way, we would die in a rental with one old car. She said she would rather have that than a son who hated coming home. That stung. Noah ran back, sweaty and smiling. He climbed onto the bench between us. He asked if Daddy was mad at me. Elaine asked why he thought that. Noah said Daddy's face looked tight when everyone talked about the boss. He said he heard someone at the restaurant ask if Daddy was okay with Mommy and that man. His eyes were too serious. I told him adults made stupid jokes, that Daddy was just tired. He asked if we were going to stop being a family now that Daddy had a new job. The question hit me like a slap. Theo called Noah back to the ball. When he was gone, Elaine said quietly that this was already hurting him. I said he was a child and would forget. She said children remembered feelings, not details. I told her she was overreacting. She looked at Oliver, standing alone near a tree, hands in his pockets, watching Noah and Theo play. She said she had never seen him look that empty. Back at Elaine's house to pick up Noah's bag, I went to the bathroom and passed Oliver in the hallway. He was on his phone, voice low. He said something about documents and timeline. When he saw me, he ended the call quickly. The screen lit up in his hand with a text preview from a thread named Follow Up. He turned it face down on the hall table as I walked by. I asked if he was planning a secret project. He said he was just making sure things were in order. I said he liked that phrase lately. We drove home mostly in silence. Noah fell asleep in the back seat. When we carried him up the stairs, his head flopped onto Oliver's shoulder. I unlocked the apartment. The air inside felt stiff. The guest room door was half open. The bed was made too neatly. On the desk, I saw his laptop, closed, and next to it a small USB stick with yesterday's date written on it in pen. In the hall cabinet where we kept old papers, a folder labeled taxes was slightly pulled out. When I pushed it back, my fingers brushed something taped underneath, another small USB. My chest tightened, even as I told myself it was just backups. In the kitchen, on our own fridge, I noticed a new sticky note. In Oliver's neat writing, bring forms. Next to it, our wall calendar had another date circled, different from Elaine's, with nothing more than a small question mark. I asked loudly what forms he was obsessed with. He said it was nothing I needed to worry about yet. That yet burned. After Noah went to his room to play, we ended up facing each other in the living room. Oliver said he could not keep pretending the promotion had no shadow. He said people at the office had hinted things, that he had seen photos of me with Marcus. I said people loved gossip and that he should fight it, not feed it. He said he would not fight lies with more lies. I told him he was calling me a liar. He said he was calling the situation wrong. Noah walked in then, holding his favorite car. He asked why Daddy slept on the sofa sometimes now. Oliver said he had fallen asleep there once watching a game. Noah said he had seen Daddy's pillow in the guest room. The room froze. I said Daddy just snored and wanted to let her sleep. Noah looked from him to me, not sure. Oliver did not contradict my story, but his face said everything. That night, after Noah was asleep for real, I heard a soft whir from the guest room, the shredder. I tiptoed down the hall and peeked in. Oliver sat at the desk, feeding some junk mail through. The laptop was open. The clean desktop showed only a few folders: home, bank, work, archive. As I watched, a small pop-up appeared. File uploaded successfully. He clicked it away when he saw me. I asked if he was archiving his love for me. He said he was archiving events. I joked that he sounded like he was writing a case file. He said he was tired of having everything be, he said, she said. He wanted something solid. I told him his need for proof was the real sickness, not my choices. He did not argue. He just wrote something in his small notebook and slid it into a drawer. I heard the soft click of a lock. When I went back to our bedroom, the bed felt too big. My phone lit up with a message from Carla. She asked if the family lunch had been messy. I typed back that they were all acting like I had done something terrible instead of celebrating the fact that I got Oliver out of his hole. She sent back a voice note saying families always turned against the one who moved differently. She said I should remember that I had options. I lay there listening to the faint hum of the shredder stop, the quiet steps in the hall, the click of the guest room door closing. After that Sunday, the fight changed shape. It stopped shouting and became lists. The guest room became fully his. At first, Oliver only slept there sometimes. Now his pillow never came back to our bed. Noah noticed, of course. He asked one morning if Daddy had a sleepover room now. I said Daddy snored and liked to read late. Oliver did not correct me. Instead, he walked to the fridge and wrote on the whiteboard, this week, Daddy bedtime stories, Mon, Wed, Fry. He added the dates. I watched, annoyed at how neat his handwriting looked. New routines showed up everywhere. A chart on the fridge for school drop-offs. A second chart for who cooked, who cleaned, who picked Noah up from football. I told him it looked like a custody schedule. He said it was just to keep things clear. I said only people planning to leave made things this clear. He looked at me and said sometimes clarity came before leaving, sometimes before staying. I hated that sentence because I could not twist it into something stupid. One night, after I posted a story about men who weaponize gratitude, I walked past the guest room. The door was half open. Oliver sat at the desk with his laptop. On the screen, a clean file tree showed Home, Work, Bank, Archive A, Archive B. No messy desktop icons, no photos, just boxes. Next to the laptop was a single USB stick with today's date on a label. Beside that lay his keys, with one small new key I did not recognize. I asked if he had bought a secret safe. He said calmly that not everything was a secret, just because I did not know it yet. He started taking calls in the hallway with his headphones on. Once, as I walked by, I heard him say timeline and documented in that same calm voice. When he noticed me, he stepped into the guest room and closed the door. A second later, I heard the click of a lock. My chest burned. I told myself he was playing games, trying to scare me, that he would not have the nerve to do anything real. At school pickup, things shifted too. Some days I arrived and Noah was already with him, holding his hand. One afternoon, a teacher asked if we could please send a written note when changing who picked Noah up. She said they needed clear records. I said it was fine, we were just flexible parents. Oliver said he would send an email tonight confirming the default days. I snapped that he was making our son sound like a parcel. He did not respond. He simply buckled Noah in, checked the strap twice, and drove off. Marcus, on the other hand, started to pull away. When I messaged him about the promotion feeling messy now, he replied that HR had eyes on everything, and it was best not to discuss details by text. When I hinted that Oliver was acting like a victim and might spread stories, Marcus said he hoped I understood that he needed to protect the company and his position. The company. His position. Not me. I stared at that message for a long time, then told myself he was just scared, like Oliver. Men always wanted the benefit without the noise. Back home, Oliver's calm kept getting under my skin. I wanted him to explode, to yell, to say something I could point at and use. Instead, he wrote, he sorted, he stacked. One evening, Noah sat at the table drawing little boxes for a two-house game. He said one house was here, one house was somewhere else, and Daddy could drive between. I asked where he had got that idea. He said Daddy talked a lot about different places and different days when he thought Noah was playing. I glared at Oliver. He sat across from us with his small notebook, writing quietly. When I said he was poisoning our son, he looked up and said Noah deserved routines that did not depend on my moods. My throat tightened. Later that night, I walked into the guest room without knocking. He jumped a little, then turned the laptop so I could not see the screen. I saw enough, a spreadsheet with columns like date, event, source. I saw the words rooftop toast clip and family lunch, restaurant, before he clicked away. I demanded to know what he planned to do with all that. I asked if he wanted to sue me for making him successful. I said he was pathetic, building some fake case because he could not handle jokes. He waited until I ran out of words. Then he said, very quietly, that this was not about jokes. He said it was about trust, about our son, about money we both touched. He said he had spent weeks asking me to see it. I had turned every plea into content. He said he was done begging. I asked what that meant. I said if he tried to humiliate me in public again, I would scream so loud nobody would hear his calm little speeches. He shook his head. He said he was not planning to humiliate me. He said he was going to handle everything properly. The word sat between us like a weight. I laughed and said he did not even know what properly meant. He did not argue. His phone buzzed on the desk with an alarm labeled paper drop 4:20 p.m. He silenced it and picked up the dated USB and that new key. The next week, I walked into Oliver's office tower lobby, ready to support him in a meeting about rumors. I had my nicest coat on, rehearsing lines about how fragile he was with success. Near the security desk, a man in a vest stepped in front of me, said my full name, and asked me to confirm it. I did. He put a thick envelope in my hand and said I had been served. On top, divorce petition, temporary orders, a parenting schedule naming Oliver primary school night parent and controlling our main account.